Hi, thanks for joining. I'm Kamil Kufel, Head of Business Intelligence Department in BoomBit. I have prepared for you a presentation about how we automated user acquisition for games we're having in our portfolio, which basically allows us to grow exponentially in the last year. So for people not knowing us, we are a publisher and the developer of hyper-casual games and midcores. We have recently reached $1 billion of our titles. So I encourage you to visit our stands on the conference because you can play our games there and grab some merch. So first of all, I would like to give you some more insights about our motivation, because obviously there are plenty of tools on the market doing user acquisition automation. Some of them are part of the MMP solution, mobile measurement partners, or offered by some other analytics companies. So I would like to briefly describe why we decided to create our solution instead of using any of those ready out of the box. So first reason, we are not satisfied with how often data is updated in the current solution. We wanted to have everything updated every hour or even more often. When we discovered what current solution offers, it's usually like a few times per day or sometimes one time per day, which cannot give you any possibility to create alerts, health checks, and spot any mistakes like in real time. So this is why we decided to create it. Okay. So also another thing about data availability. The current our market is changing constantly. So for instance, to adapt to SKAd network, we were able to integrate all the network APIs right away without waiting for MMPs to implement it, and therefore start with iOS 14 campaigns super quick. So second reason, we want us to achieve the highest accuracy as possible. Sources of data sometimes have delays, sometimes there are discrepancies. So every time something weird occurs in the data, we needed to click the button and refresh everything in our data. So to refresh user level, to refresh rough data and have the all the aggregated reports recalculated. So personally, I don't know the third-party solution allowing to like alter the data. Usually, when like something is wrong with the events or parameters, you have to like fix the game, update it on the store, and wait for the proper data to collect. While we're having everything on site, we can just edit what is wrong and recalculate everything. Third reason, tailored user experience. We wanted to make changes in our dashboard like fast, without creating a feature request to the partner, then waiting months to implement it, hoping that our request will be like high enough into their priorities. So we want what we want to achieve, so we just decided to create it. And finally, the last reason, automation. We find that most of our mistakes, problems with campaigns were due to the fact that they are created manually and also operated manually. So making CTR tests, CPI tests, replacing creatives in live campaigns, changing bits, that all can be automated in the API. And to do that, we just need correct data in place and, of course, some programming. When it comes to the data needed for the analyzing user acquisition performance for mobile games, there are basically four types of data. The attribution data from MMP, so we need to know what is the source of users, is it Facebook, Google, which campaign, perfect is if we know the creative. So whatever is available, we need to have in our BI. We need proper InApp revenue, we need proper ad revenue, and of course we need spend the data. So we collected all of it by connecting the APIs. To give you a more perspective about it, let's put our BI in the middle. Then we need to import ad revenue data from mediation partners. So we are currently using the Iron Source, Mopup, and Max. What next? We need some attribution data, so we connected Upslayer API. We need some information about the correct in-app revenue. So obviously there are refunds, there are problems with proper in-app purchases measurement. This is why we decided to connect the App Store API and Google Play API to have data in RBI as accurate as possible. And of course, the networks of the network APIs. We have currently implemented around 15 networks. So usually there are more than one API per network. So this is a lot of APIs. Obviously, each API has different issues. So it was quite fun to implement all of them. We are using Slack for notifications. So when anything weird occurs in the data, we want to be notified. So again, Slack API is another one. And the last one, because obviously you cannot query the rough data constantly, we need some aggregation, fast reports when you get the data like a few seconds after clicking the button. So we are aggregate everything, putting in our databases and connect to the visualization tool, which is Looker in our case. A few words about ad revenue. It can be collected in different ways, and depending on the solution you choose, you have the different accuracy of the data. Currently, impression level data via SDK is like most popular across the networks because every mediation partner offers it. I marked it as the high minus accuracy because sometimes when you have data for Facebook audience networks, for instance, the mediation partner cannot access the real cost of the impression. They are calculating CPMs and try to estimate the value of the NAT. So if that estimation is okay, then data is accurate. However, if Facebook changes the performance on the next day, we won't be able to update that data. This is why the second option, user level or impression level daily reports, might solve the trick because they can be updated on the next days. So if mediation partner changes data, we can pull it to our BI, replaces everything you had, and increase our accuracy. However, what is good with the SDK tracking, you can use it for tracking SKI network to calculate conversion value, and because of that, allow access to the ad ARPU in iOS 14 campaigns. So the first solution actually is the only one allows it. What we do, we are doing the combination of the first two solutions, exactly because the iOS 14. And also there is a third option called aggregated data, but fortunately, this is still used by a few developers, and it is super bad because it makes a lot of assumptions. For instance, when you are pulling the revenue for a specific country, for a specific game, you assume that the value of the banner or the rewarded video is the same, which is super bad. The aggregated data usually assume that user on his first day of lifetime watches ads worth the same as user on his 7th day of data. So we find usually the first ads worth the most, so we cannot assume that all of them is worth the same. And third problem, it ignores the user acquisition channel. So obviously Facebook and Google Ads may deliver different quality of the users. This is why we need user-level data to see what is the real value of users from Facebook or from Google to calculate the proper ROI. So how user-level ad revenue data looks? Basically, a big CS file with user IDs, which can be IDFA, IDFV, Google Advertising ID, or any custom internal user ID you might be using. And we receive very detailed data about what is the ad type, what was the network, what was the placement, we can combine it with the data from MMP and have really accurate data to measure user acquisition. We also need the in-app revenue. There are plenty of reasons why it can go wrong, like fraud purchases, QA purchases, refunds, as I said. This is why you sometimes see in your dashboards that the in-app revenue is completely different along different tools. But actually, it can be fixed. We can make it like aligned between each other, but we have to make some work to make that happen. So I have prepared a checklist, basically covering all the things you need to implement in order to have the accurate in-app revenue. What is important, especially important here, that is we are utilizing the App Store API and Google Play API to properly mark refunds in our data. We are trying to remove the original purchase if the refund happen. We are making sure that the test QA purchases are not being tracked. We are using the server-to-server API to send information about subscription every time it is renewed, because usually when the subscription is renewed, user is not live in the game. So when he is not live, he cannot send event from the game. So it causes serious discrepancies when it comes to subscription revenue. Of course, the duplication, and one more important thing, the difference between gross and net. Most MMPs shows in-app revenue as gross. We created some kind of mapping table where we remove the store commission and the VAT from the original price of the item, which again increase our accuracy of the data. So, for instance, to get net revenue from users from Denmark, we have to multiply the item price by 56%, because this is only what we get from that purchase. These days, even this is more complicated, because the App Store and Google Play gives like some kind of promotions for the first million, or the or other than the different conditions, like the lower commission, which is fine for the developers, but it's like make again our calculation a little more messy. So finally, let's talk about automation, bidding. While we have everything in place, we have the correct data, we can calculate ROI, ARPU for every possible breakdown. We need to create user acquisition campaigns and take care of them. So we have 3 approaches how to monitor user acquisition campaigns and change bids. Obviously, the worst one is manual. I guess it's fine if you have super low number of apps or campaigns. However, we in BoomBit like have thousands of campaigns, or at least the combinations, live in the same time. So we cannot do that manually. But again, if the number of games is small or the structure is uncomplicated, then I guess it's fine. The second approach is CSV files. Some networks allow you to download CSV files with the whole settings of the campaigns, including the status, bid, budget, name. You can basically in Excel change everything and upload it back to the network. Which again is fine if you have small number of campaigns, but if, for instance, you are adding the subsource bidding, so you want to give the different bid for the user depending on in which app the ad is shown, then you end with the Excel files having tens of thousands rows, which you basically cannot process manually. You have to still merge it with your data. And the solution is quite messy. So there is a third option, automation, and we have created the internal tool called BoomBit to make that happen and to solve our issues with managing thousands of campaigns on a daily basis. I will show you how it works. So first of all, we are preparing a big CSV file with bits. We are including them multiple type of bits, because obviously, for instance, Google has campaigns, has bits on the campaign level. Facebook or Snapchat or TikTok has bits on the ad set level. some SDK networks like Integral or Iron Source have bits on the country level, and you can also do subsourcing then, which is source level. And of course, finally, we have SKI network, which adds additional type of bits and completely different methodology of calculation to the package. So we have 5 types of bits, and our solution supports them all. So we are basically creating a big file, having all those bits prepared to deploy. On the right, there is a screenshot from our database, but it's not quite visible. And what's happening next? The user acquisition manager opens the BoomBit, sees all the changes we are proposing, and make adjustments if they think that some bits should be higher or lower. Of course, we are not changing bits. We are not altering the automatically generated bits for all the combinations, because that would be too lot of them. But for the campaigns or countries you have like the highest spend, we can still do manual changes. So make some small adjustments to the bit by clicking on the pencil button, editing the bit, clicking confirm. Obviously, you can like get a warning if the change is too big or too slow. You are seeing the history of the bit, the history of the performance, all the KPIs in the same place. So when everything seems to be okay, UA manager clicks the button. And this is when magic happens, because thousands of bits from multiple networks are being deployed without going to the network dashboard. And that operation can be conducted again in case the data will be changed, or we just want to do a second iteration of bit changes. So I checked before the presentation, and in the last 30 days, we made over 220,000 changes in bits in the last 30 days. Every time a bit file is being approved by the UA manager, we are getting notifications on Slack, so everyone is aware we are changing something. And of course, all the changes can be also seen in the dashboard in case of any need. A part of the bits upload, BoomBit is also used to check the performance of our campaigns on a daily basis. So we have implemented a lot of small features allowing UA managers work be more efficiently. So a few examples of that features would be adding campaigns as favorites, so they always be visible on the top. Every time you see the campaign, you can click the button network in the right corner, and you are being redirected to the network dashboard with this campaign or combination automatically selected, so you don't have to copy and paste IDs or search for the same campaign to check the current settings in the network dashboard. And of course, there are some links to the more sophisticated reports in Looker when like more granular data can be checked. So about the current state of which networks can be actually automated, the good news is that's almost all. It has changed recently because the Uplovin joined the party last month, and Unity Ads is still in beta. However, the API is accessible, so almost all of the networks can be automated this way, and we don't have to go to the networks dashboard just to change bits, budgets, status, and things like that. So to summary, what we have achieved this year. So we have managed to have in our BI ready data about yesterday by 8 a.m. in the morning. This is again something that I cannot find in any out-of-the-box solution, because they usually are ready later this day, like in the afternoon or even the next day. We use Slack for communication, so this was obvious choice for the alerts. When anything, an anomaly happens, we are receiving the alert on Slack. So basically, people responsible for the specific network on app can take an action right away. We are also marking the alerts as processed, so the other UA managers know when this alert has been processed, and other UA managers should not spend time on it. So thanks for the implementation, the network APIs by ourselves. We are having the 1 hour or sometimes less delay of the data for today. This allowed us super responsive and helpful alerts in real time. And what else? Of course, we have created AlgoBit. This is kudos to our BitKeepers team in BoomBit. The final algorithm to calculate all those bits before they are imported to BoomBit and deployed to the networks. And of course, the BoomBit, so solution to deploy thousands of bits by one click. And we have a few challenges in that process. The API limitations, of course, some of them gives you limitation when it comes to number of requests or an amount of data which can be pulled. So we had to solve them all. Of course, probably you all remember the situation when Facebook was down, I guess 4th of October. So all the APIs were down. So because we had everything implemented by ourselves, a minute after Facebook went back to life, we have pulled everything and fixed the data, fixed the gap in our reporting. So this is something super important for us, to not wait for the third party to process the data again in case of any issues. We had to develop structure of the database working for all the networks. As I said, every network is completely different, so it was quite a challenge. Processing site level data, because when you are adding site ID dimension, you are increasing the amount of data hundreds or thousands times than simple country level. So we had to experiment with a few databases and check how it's working. And of course, because this is internal solution, you have to constantly keep it up to date because the market is changing and the APIs of networks are changing. But again, this allowed us to adapt to SKI network super fast. And that would be all. Thank you very much for being here. You can find some information to contact me on the screen. And I would be delighted to answer some questions if there are any.